Hello everybody and welcome to what is episode 6 of this TEW save. Getting close to being as long as our TEW 2016 save. This is the first of what's probably going to be more of a booking room style episode. Probably every month, or after every pay-per-view more or less. Where we're going to run you through a couple things that happened. Run you through the future, and it's more of a, if you want to know more about the save and what goes on behind the scenes, who we might sign, these are the videos you can watch. If you don't want to, skip this one. A recap of what happened then. Emergence got a 50, almost 1,000 people in attendance. We opened the show with the Guns retaining against the North, Chris Bay retaining against Willie Mack, Donna Purrazzo defeating Kylie Ray and Jordan Grace. The Good Brothers defeating Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. EC3 defeating Moose and stealing his belt. And then Eddie Edwards defeating Eric Young in a hardcore match to retain the Impact World title. And a few things happened in between episodes that we will cover here as well. So the first one I have listed is apparently in AEW. I don't know if I can actually see it here, but MJF joined the Strong Hearts. Don't know why. Don't see how that would happen, why that would happen, but you know, TW is a weird place. For anybody who's interested, this is quickly their title holders. So, from where we would have picked up in real life, there have been no title changes. And this is their tour company, so this is their figureheads. Then next up we have I believe CM Punk and AJ Lee divorced in this save, so I don't know if that will affect either of them coming back to wrestling anytime soon. But just thought again it was another interesting thing to have passed that people might want to know. And of course in WWE, I don't know how to actually, I forget the news for WWE. But they crowned a new figurehead, as you can see there. It was there. Becky Lynch is now WWE's figurehead. Again, this is WWE's titles. AJ, Dolph Ziggler and Akam. Don't understand that one. Maybe Dolph Ziggler has a bodyguard now. Which means obviously in this universe WWE have kept Akam at least. Probably Razor too. Which obviously I think they should have in real life. But alas, they did not. Sasha Banks, the Raw Women's Champion, Cesaro and Shinsuke, Asuka, Apollo Crews, Braun Strowman, Drew, and Bayley and Sasha, and then Shelton is still the 24/7 champion. And in terms of our save, we actually had Rhino recently say that he would be willing to take the loss for Chris Bay, which I think is interesting. It's not something we're going to run with right now. Rhino did say he would take, I could take him up on this offer for the next 5 months. So for 5 months, we could at some point have Rhino lose to Chris Bay. The problem is, at the minute, Chris Bay is our X Division champion. Of course, the X Division champion is listed as a floating level championship that is meant for high flying action, which Rhino is not. Neither is Heath. So there's no reason for either of them to really be involved in it. I do think a Chris Bay, Johnny Swinger, Heath, and Rhino story could be good. It could be funny. 4 very entertaining guys. So we could go that route. I will run you through our rest of our champions now, actually, before we go. Steven and Shelley obviously retaining the belts of 40. 56 for Eddie. And 44 for Deanna, and obviously Bay the 43. The storylines we're running for the next month, these are our storylines. Obviously this is only for, if you want to know what's going to happen, this is what you need to see. If you don't want to know, turn away soon. Obviously we have Rich Swann is going to return this month. We are not going to have a pay-per-view. I will run you through our schedule after this, but we're not going to have a pay-per-view at the end of this month. We're going to build for 8 weeks straight to Bound for Glory. So Eric Young will be feuding with Rich Swann. Donna Purrazzo will feud with Jordan Grace. There will be a fatal 4-way for the tag team titles between the Guns, the North, the Good Brothers, and Austin and Fulton. Heath for Impact is still there, and they will probably appear on the card, but at the minute I don't really have an opponent for them, but we'll probably find something for them for Bound for Glory. EC3 and Moose, I almost fused their names there for some reason, are still going, a hot storyline. Ideally for me, as you'll see here, we don't have a feud for Eddie Edwards. Ideally for me, we will mix up the EC3 Moose feud with Eddie Edwards. So at Bound for Glory, we will hopefully main event with EC3 versus Moose versus Eddie Edwards. Not sure who'll come out with the title, but I think that is probably the best match we can deliver for Bound for Glory. And the problem is, as much as Impact signed a lot of guys recently, it feels like the roster is kind of not that deep. I'll explain a bit better in a minute, but it feels like the roster is not super deep right now, especially for heels. Callahan, who we are turning face, which is ironic seeing them saying we're struggling for heels, but we wouldn't really do Edwards Callahan again right now anyway. And of course, in real life, they turned Callahan face, so he should be face, he just was not in the game. We are doing Callahan RVD, as you would have seen at the start of Emergence. We're going to have a returning to Neil Dashwood fused with Kylie Ray as we try to move Kylie up the division and reintroduce Tenille back to TV. And then Chris Bay will face TJP. Again, the X division is very small. TJP's been performing decently when on TV. Did have not that many matches, but I think we're going to go for the old-fashioned route of, you'll win the he will win the triple threat or fatal four-way on TV, and then maybe we'll do a tag team match: Chris Bay, Johnny Swinger against Fala Ba and TJP. TJ can maybe even pin Chris Bay in that tag team match, and then, or I guess we could go the route of Johnny maybe gets a bit ahead of himself and thinks, Chris has got the title, why not go for the tag team titles? I got us a tag team match, brother, and maybe we can, get something going, and then they'll face Fala Ba and TJP. TJP pins Bay. Yeah, that's probably what we'll go with. I think that's what I should write that down actually. That's what we'll go with. But what I mean about our divisions being slightly small is, if you look at, I'll show you the schedule first actually. I fixed it. So we will be taping one Explosion and one Impact Wrestling every week. We don't have a pay-per-view until Bound for Glory in November. So it gives us 2 months to build to Bound for Glory. There won't be like a Bound for Glory tournament or whatever they used to run. Bound for Glory series, is that what you call it? I don't know if it's actually in the game. No, but I believe they've ran a Bound for Glory series before. We won't be having one at the minute anyway. But something to think about. I need to fix that. In terms of our roster, the issue is depth outside of the tag and the knockouts, I think, personally. If you go for major stars, your wrestlers, RVD doesn't come up, but he's an occasional wrestler, and it's our only major star. Stars, we've got Ace Austin, who at the minute is in the tag team division, same with Doc Gallows. You've EC3, Eddie Edwards, Eric Young, who just faced EC3 and will be tied up with Rich Swann. Heath, who will probably go in the tag team division. Anderson is tag team division. Moose is singles. Rhino is tag. And Sami Callihan is currently tied up with RVD. Although Callihan could have a good feud with some of the top guys. I possibly could be interested in Moose, Sami Callihan. I think the way they're booking Callihan on TV, I think there would be an element there where you could go, Sami Callihan's going to take the delusional Moose down a peg. We could go that route. I think that's a possibility. Maybe. I'll write that down here. EC3. And I'll take the note of Swinger and Bay versus TJP and so yeah, if you see what I mean, these are our big stars who are supposed to be in contention to compete for our title. And there's a lot of tag division guys. Obviously, the big names that came in were all tag guys, so that's just something we're going to have to deal with. In terms of well-known stars, you've got the one half of the Guns, Alex Shelley. You've got X Division champion Chris Bay, Ethan Page of the North, Jake Chris, who I don't have anything for at the minute. If you are particularly fond of Jake Chris and you have a gimmick for him outside of X Division job guy, please let me know. Jordan Grace is obviously here. Josh Alexander, half from North. Madison Rain, who we don't really have anything for, but we're using her sort of more as a sort of commentator, announcer, interviewer right now. Fulton is someone who might get a push in the future. Has decent stats. He's obviously not amazing in ring, but good man. He'll be very good as the Assassin's bodyguard. Rich Swan, who will return to TV. Rosemary, who's face teaming with... On TV, she's teaming sort of with Taya Valkyrie and that little thing they have going with Johnny Bravo. I'm not fully up to date with what they're doing, but I'm not really playing on it that much. I've had them team a wee bit. Maybe we can sort something else out instead for the two of them. I didn't want to just fire them in with the Kelly Ray feud, because that's kind of what they already did. So that's why I went with Tennille Dashwood. I know on TV now they're doing Tennille Dashwood and Jordan Grace, I believe. But I would rather maybe Dashwood and Kelly Ray. Tennille Dashwood, speaking of, who will turn heel on TV. I think that's seemingly what she did anyway. And hopefully, she'll get a good series of matches with Kelly Ray. TJP. I mean, he's not amazing, but former X Division champion in real life. Don't like the fact he's egomaniac personality. But he should produce something decent with Chris Bay. It'll not go the whole way to Bound for Glory. That's not what we're saying. It'll not go the whole way to Bound for Glory. I think the Bound for Glory match, unless we sign someone, which we're going to look at in a minute, might be Trey. Has Trey been? He has, hasn't he? No, he hasn't been X Division champion. So maybe Trey could become X Division champion at some point. But that's something I'll have to think about. You might just have a match with Bay at Bound for Glory, I'm not sure. Izzy Romero, nobody of big note down here. Brian Myers, obviously we are sort of having a pseudo gimmick of him talking about his, impressive win streak of 3 matches. 3 matches? 3 matches. So yeah, the best one being on the pre-show of Emergence there. Daga maybe is somebody we should push back up into the top of the X Division. Does he speak English? That's the wrong. Does Daga speak English? Where do I find that? Personal information. Speaks fluent Spanish, so drop me somebody down below. If you think you can give me a manager for Daga. Not Tessa, probably, but Taya Valkyrie could be an interesting one. You obviously have to turn Daga heel. Turn Daga heel, maybe replace Johnny Bravo and have Taya cut promos for Daga. Because, if Daga can't speak English, I can't put him in a feud with Johnny Swinger and Chris Bay unless they do all the talking for him. So I think he'd be definitely behind Trey and unfortunately also behind TJP, I guess, in my pecking order at the minute. Deonna Purrazzo should be the Knockouts champion for quite some time. Obviously, the Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordan Grace match will hopefully we can stretch it the whole way to Bound for Glory. We may end up having to do a singles match at some point on TV if that comes to a natural conclusion, and then possibly a stipulation match on TV, or not on TV, on pay-per-view. You could maybe do a submission match. She's got good Whereas, yes, you got very good technical stats. I don't know what Jordan Grace is like, but obviously on TV they built a lot around her arm, Fujiwara armbar. Dez, hopefully him and Wentz get a bit more momentum. They're sort of behind the pack in the Impact Tag Team division at the minute. I would really like to see them go one-on-one in this save with the Guns. I'm sure there's a couple of heel teams we could get them feuding with before we move them in. Because I don't want them to just be the background characters in Trey's sort of ascent to the X Division throne, should we go that route. Havoc, we don't have much for her. Hernandez, again, not much for him. I would maybe rather have him be a sort of job guy. The issue is, I was just thinking there, he's a babyface as well. You could maybe have him take... You could maybe have Hernandez take Daga under his wing. Daga obviously speaks... Or Hernandez obviously speaks good English. So you could have Hernandez maybe do something on a couple of backstage segments where Hernandez maybe sees Daga struggling to win matches, struggling to pick up wins, struggling to connect, and Hernandez maybe takes him under his wing. And yes, that is another tag team for our tag team division, but Hernandez could also, be in Daga's corner for a match with Chris Bay maybe. So let me know maybe in the comments what you think about that. Hernandez and Chris Bay. It might be something I test on Explosion first. Or not on Chris Bay and Daga, I mean. It might be something we test out first on Explosion before bringing it to. Obviously, I'm going to hopefully tape a couple of these in advance. So it might not be something we get going straight away. But it's something to certainly think about. Kimberly, we don't have anything for at the minute. She's face. I'm pretty sure she's heel in real life. But I don't have plans for her at the minute. I was tempted to maybe do her instead of Tennille Dashwood. But I thought maybe it'd be easier to push, raise Kelly Ray onto Tennille Dashwood's level. Or perceived level, I guess, because in my head, you sort of have Jordan Grace and Deonna Purrazzo, with Dashwood maybe not that far behind because of how good we know Dashwood is. So you're sort of bringing Kelly Ray up from that plucky underdog to put her on the level of Tennille Dashwood, of Jordan Grace, of Deonna Purrazzo. So I thought it'd be easier to maybe bring Kelly Ray up to Dashwood's level instead of bringing Kelly Ray and Kimberly up. And then of course if Kimberly turns heel to feud with Kelly Ray and then loses, and then we don't really see from her again, what was the point of any sort of heel turn? Rohit Raju, obviously X Division champion in real life. I don't have anything for him other than being a job guy. Is the Desi Hit Squad done in real life? They're in this game. I have no plans for them, but just something that I thought was interesting there. Susie, sort of having her tag along with Kelly Ray. Obviously the eventual go-to is Kelly Ray versus Susie, or Su Yung. Don't know when we'll pull the trigger on that, but it's something to think about. Obviously the question I guess is more, do you pull the trigger on the Susie into Su Yung transformation to feud with Kelly Ray before or after Kelly Ray would eventually win the Knockouts Championship? Let me know what you guys think. It could be maybe something to do after you get, if she does beat Deonna Purrazzo eventually, not anytime soon, but eventually, for the women's title. Would you have then her beat Deonna Purrazzo again and then Susie turns? Just something to think about. Do we have any unimportant people? Mostly jobbers. Swinger, Hogan, Kelly Ray, unfortunately, is down here. Don't think she's had that many losses, has she? Oh, well, she's 3-3, actually, so maybe that's not that great. Won that tag match, beat Tasha Steelz, beat Issy Rain. Okay, yeah. So she went on a 3-match win streak and then lost. Oh, she's... We'll build her back up a bit before Bound for Glory comes around. I wonder will the Tennille... Hopefully the Tennille Dashwood story goes the whole way to thing. Bound for Glory. Not really sure. Is he worth a push, maybe? And doesn't have high mana. Well, 54. He's just the best member that is his squad, which is nothing much. Tasha Steelz is going to be turning heel. She should be heel in this game. She teams with Kiera Hogan in real life. Seem like they're an alright team, so I would rather have them teaming so that we can get them in feuds. Maybe with a, maybe with a Taya Valkyrie and a Rosemary, or maybe with a Kimberly. And at least then they're on TV and doing stuff. Now, as you can see, the X Division's not great. You sort of have Chris Bay, and then below him it's maybe Trey, but obviously Trey's competed for the world title recently. Outside of Trey, you maybe have Dez and Wentz, but they're both tag team guys. You have Daga, but he can't speak English. And then everybody else is kind of filtered into jobber territory. For me personally, even the likes of Petey Williams, not someone I'm maybe going to be pushing for too much longer. World title, obviously it's not awful, but there is sort of a lack of maybe top of the range heels we need to consider, which I'm not sure what the answer to that is. Unless we really get behind Moose. But I think I know where we're going with the top title. It's just that unfortunately there's a bit of a gap between the end of Emergence and the real start of Eddie Edwards' next title feud. And the Knockouts division, I think, is very strong. We don't really need anybody unless they're really special and we have something for them immediately. Same with the tag team division, it's stacked. We might even add Daga and Hernandez to that, just to make it more stacked. So, we'll see. In terms of adding to divisions, I have my shortlist here. Again, if you don't want to see stuff, feel free to back out. ACH is someone I'm considering. Don't like his personality type. It's gloomy. Obviously, he's great in ring. He plays a great babyface. Could be good for the X division. He's, not really someone, although he was in WB, he's not someone I personally go, oh, there's WB's, Jordan Miles, ACH. Not really what I think when I see him. He's an indie guy. Yes, he left on very bad terms, but Impact don't always shy away from these kind of things. I think it'd be an interesting pickup. Who else to talk about? Amazing Red, maybe. Could be another X Division guy. Probably not. He'd maybe only be like a one-stop, comes in, feuds and goes, where something like an ACH could stay around a bit longer. Anybody else? I like the idea of eventually getting Angelico and Jack Evans. I think they would be a very good heel tag team to feud with the Motor City Machine Guns and with Wentz and Dez. I think they'd have great matches. We can ignore people here like Bandito and Big Swole. They're just pie in the skies. If their contracts ever come, might nab them. Chris Hero. It's up. If you guys in the comments really want Chris Hero, which you probably will, we could consider it. I don't have anything for him. I know that really he should come in and just feud with Eddie Edwards, or he should feud with EC3, but I don't have anything for him, so I would be against signing him for now, unless something comes up. Because I don't think we need him right now. Same with Curtis Axel. He's sort of there in case like I'd come up with something for him, but don't think I have anything right now. Daniel Maccabee. Interesting guy for me. Seen a bit of the stuff. Joseph Montesilo talks about him a bit. That's where I know him from. Seen a couple of his matches. The WXW show that's on the network I've seen him in. Seems like a good professional wrestler. High technical score. Someone we can maybe build up on Explosion with some wins. He maybe wouldn't fit that style that we use the X Division for, but if you just called it a belt for really good professional wrestlers, Daniel Maccabee could obviously fill that spot and probably thrive. Divi Vega and Matt Fitchett, the best friends, not the best friends. Oh, what are they called? That is gimmick infringement. They're not called the best friends. They are called the besties in the world. Yeah, the besties in the world. Good tag team. Obviously, we don't need tag teams right now, but if we do, I think the next step would be the besties. I think they fill a similar spot to somebody like Daniel Maccabee, where they're very good. People who watch a lot of independents will probably know them. I've seen them personally live, and I think they're very good. Obviously, in this, they're the AAW Tag Team Champions. So if you ever need a tag team, maybe a mid-card tag team, we could bring in the besties. Drago and Dragon Lee again are just sort of pie in the skies for X Division guys if you ever need. Eli Everfly, haven't seen a lot of him, heard good things, but not for a while. I'd have to see maybe more of him in real life. Emi Sakura, AEW let her go, and I think someone else let her go, did they? But she's interesting, certainly. Maybe she was already sacked by AEW by the time this started. But she is interesting. If you look at her stats, very good stats. But I don't really have a purpose for her right now. It's kind of tempting. As is obviously another woman I'm sure you can all see on this list. But obviously not very over in the US. 43, would we push her? Probably not. Giga Fatu, someone that's very tempting, I think. Probably plays a very good heel, I'd imagine. Seen little bits and pieces, would like to see more. Better as a heel, amazing heel according to this. Think he could maybe be something we are missing. I think he's a different type of heel to Moose. Moose is more of like, yes, they're both big guys, powerhouses, but Moose is more of a cocky, arrogant heel, whereas I would probably more play Fatu as the destroyer type. Jeff Cobb, again, is just a pie in the sky. I should have Jay Lethal on here somewhere. My one exception for bringing in guys, maybe who would seem unrealistic, would be to bring back old TNA guys. Because, who would not like to see AJ Styles just floating around on this TNA roster, or Impact roster? Now, obviously, Jeff Cobb is not one of those, but Jeff Cobb, again, is somebody that, not being contracted to AEW or WWE, could technically, although contracted to ROH, be seen as free game for Impact. Kerry Hojo, former WWE, very talented. Don't have a spot for her. Personally, I don't think we're going to bring her in. Very good, don't get me wrong, but I would be more tempted to just go Donna Purrazzo, Kylie Ray with the belt. If you had Kerry Hojo, it kind of muddles things up, I think, a bit for me. Leo Rush, I think, is probably one of the more tempting signings. He'd be up there for me with Maccabee and ACH. I think he'd be great in our X Division. I think he'd actually be great teaming with one of the guys on the roster I have specifically in mind. But again, prickly personality type. I don't think he'd cause me any issues. Would he? Personal info. Yeah, it's unlikely it would cause me any issues in the locker room. But so it's something to think about. Maybe let me know in the comments if you think that'd be good. Matt Cross, again, another guy who I considered maybe coming in and doing some upper card babyface work in the X Division. Matt Sydal, same thing. Mike Bailey was really actually who I wanted to bring in. Not to immediately feud with Chris Bay, but if I wasn't going to push Trey, I think Mike Bailey would be a very good X Division upper mid card guy. The kind of upper mid, underdog guy that everyone can get behind. So when he eventually wins the X Division title, it's a big deal. Doesn't look like that's going to be Bailey's role, because for some reason he can't perform in the US. If anyone knows why, let me know, but apparently he can't. MJ Jenkins and Myron Reed are just people that I have on. I've heard good things about, but I would want to see them in real life soon. Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson are on this because NWA let them go. And part of me kind of thinks it'd be funny to bring them in and have them feud with the North. Maybe not even the North, maybe someone else. But although I probably won't bring them in. And if I did, it'd be after Bound for Glory. So if you do want to see Gibson and Morton go head to head with the North, or teams like that in our tag team division, let me know. Don't think it'll happen, but it is tempting to me. Rob Eagles, I think, would be a great X Division guy. Really would add depth and probably be a future X Division champion if we brought him in. And I don't think he's a massive New Japan name. It's not like I'm going to bring in Marty Scurll, Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., Hiromu Takahashi, and just put them in my X Division to make my X Division better. Robbie Eagles is someone who isn't immediately being pushed by New Japan, so I think could be brought in to do some work with TNA or Impact. Rocky Romero has a very good friendship with Anderson Gallows, from what I can tell. Would that necessarily mean he'd come under Impact? No. Do I think it makes it more likely, and would that be something I'd be willing to play on? 100%. Rocky Romero also gone from ROH, so he's not with any other American companies. Why not us? Rusev, obviously, everybody knows how good Rusev is. Serena Deeb, not an AEW in this. Maybe if I need a jobber, mid-card female competitor, we might bring her in. At the minute, nothing planned for her. Shane Strickland, he's just on here. He's a bit on here like Angelico, Big Swole, Jack Evans. Although I don't think Jack Evans is on this for some reason. I might need to add that. Jack Evans and Jay Lethal need to be on that list. He's a pie in the sky. Like, here, if WWE did let him go, definitely. Could you imagine Chris Bay and Shane Strickland? I think they've got very similar gimmicks. Not in a way where they're obviously Strickland's a face and Bay's a heel, but you know, Strickland or Isaiah Scott is all about swerve. It's all about swag, confidence. I feel like Chris Bay plays that same kind of confidence. It's just for Bay, it falls into arrogance, whereas for Strickland, it falls into swag or swerve. And I think that's maybe an interesting dynamic we could play off of. And then, obviously, Tenor Conti is on this list. AEW exclusive written. No chance of getting her, but be an interesting addition to the division if we were going that route. So that is really what we're talking about for rosters. If you've seen anybody on that shortlist you think I should bring in, let me know. If you've seen anybody on that shortlist that should be on the shortlist, I mean, again, let me know. If you have any plans for guys not on my roster or on my roster, anybody you'd like me to talk more in depth about my plans for, please let me know. The last thing I will show you, last two things. This is the size of our company. We did, I believe, go down or just stall because obviously last month we were recording in bulk, so all of our crowd were completely bored of like 12 hours of 10 hours of wrestling they sat through in the one day. I understand. I don't understand why the game was telling me that our crowd was hot, but also burnt out. Don't know how that works. But we're on the road to trying to chase down medium size. And then our finances, as you can see, we made 1,000. This was the financial breakdown for those interested. Hopefully, not having a pay-per-view does not murder it. I don't think it will. But if it does, Pound for Glory will definitely save us, and then I will learn my lesson and we will do pay-per-views every month. Thank you guys for watching. Again, anybody you'd like me to bring in, any stories you want me to run through, anything you want me to explain in depth, because I kind of like doing this. I would maybe be interested in doing more videos like this where we talk in depth about my plans, or even if we talk more in depth about things going on in the real wrestling world. Let me know if that thing would interest you. Like, comment, subscribe. Cheers.